I call the May 27th, 2021 Legislative Council meeting to order, and I'd ask Ms. Gresser to call the roll.
Senator Pouliot.
Present.
Senator Timberlake.
Present.
Senator Daughtry.
Present.
Representative Stetkis. Senator Vitelli.
Present.
Representative Dillingham.
Present.
Representative Talbot Ross.
Present.
Representative Dunphy.
Present.
Mr. President.
Present.
And Mr. Speaker.
Present.
Mr. Speaker, you have a quorum.
Thank you. The first item on the agenda is the summary of the May 20th, 2021 meeting of the Legislative Council from last week. Appears on page 1 of our agenda, or our packet rather, and it requires a decision of adoption of the meeting minutes for May 20th, 2021. Seeking a motion. So moved by President Jackson, seconded by Representative Dunphy. Any discussion on this item? Senator Timberlake.
My only question is, Mr. Speaker, and thank you, is I don't think I got any questions on what was adopted, but I do have some questions about what we adopted, and I think it's probably save it for either at the end of this is whatever then.
All right, thank you. Any other comments or questions on the meeting minutes? Seeing none, I'll have Ms. Gresser call the roll.
Senator Pouliot.
Yes.
Senator Timberlake.
Yes.
Senator Daughtry.
Yes.
Senator Vitelli.
Yes.
Representative Stetkis.
Yes.
Representative Dillingham.
Yes.
Representative Talbot Ross.
Yes.
Representative Dunphy.
Yes.
Mr. President.
Yes.
Yes.
Sorry.
And Mr. Speaker.
Yes.
Mr. Speaker, it's unanimous.
Great. The next item on the agenda is reports from the executive director and staff office directors, and we have a fiscal report from Mr. Nolan, and I think he's with us.
Mr. Speaker, Mr. President, members of the council, the fiscal briefing is on page 4. Just want to say to start, the briefing that we do right after the revenue forecast does not have the updated revenue forecast included in the new budget numbers. So it's a little distorted. And so while the briefing shows the fiscal year to date, we have a $391.4 million surplus or positive variance in revenue through April. That does not reflect the fact that we adjusted the budget numbers up by 479.4. So this is not 391.4 million more on top of what we did in the revenue forecast. So this is just the numbers moving towards what the revenue forecast incorporates. So 479.4. So through April, we had those numbers when we did the revenue forecast. So it's not surprising that they would be consistent with the forecast. The numbers we have to date for May also are supportive of the forecast positive adjustment of 479.4. So the revenue picture in general fund looks good. It looks consistent with what the Revenue Forecasting Committee did at the beginning of May. I can just, the areas that we're seeing positive variance are in the individual income tax. We are having, some adjustments in the monthly amounts because of the delay in the payment date from April till May 17th. Those should work through and be consistent with what was assumed in the revenue forecast. So questions of when people filed their actual taxes, when people got their refunds, et cetera. There's some distortion between April and May budgeted amounts and when they actually did that. But those all should work out through the end of May and June, and we should be at or above the amount in the revenue forecast, the 479.4 million. Sales and use tax revenue was over budget by 35.9 million based on March sales for the month and 110.5 million for the fiscal year to date. So that was all also consistent with what was assumed in the revenue forecast, and May appears to be as strong or more strong, if that's a proper use of English. And the other item I wanted to mention is the estate tax revenue was over budget by 20.4 million. We recognize that in the revenue forecast as well. That was additional information that we got after the revenue forecasting committee's first meeting late in May, and we had another meeting a couple of days later. And when that actual collection was made in April and included it in the revenue forecast as well. So everything seems consistent with that positive adjustment that the revenue forecasting committee made at the beginning of May. And the details are kind of working through the system, but it's difficult to see and assess against the revenue forecast because those numbers are not in the budget yet. Those hopefully will be incorporated by the executive branch into the budget numbers in May, and we'll have a better picture in May of how the forecast is doing. So that is all I have on general fund. If can pause for questions.
Are there any questions for Mr. Nolan? Seeing none, Mr. Nolan, please proceed.
Okay. The highway fund was over budget by 2.8 million for April and is over budget by 6.9 million for the fiscal year to date. The same thing as with the general fund, that they don't reflect the revised revenue forecast, but it doesn't. The different caveat I would make is that we did adjust, the revenue forecasting committee adjusted highway fund revenue down by 0.22 million, and that number reflected a negative adjustment in fuel tax and a positive adjustment in registration and fees. The negative adjustment in fuel tax appears to be playing out, but the positive adjustment in registration and fees appears to be greater than we assumed in the revenue forecast. So, because if you read that sentence, it says that we had a 6.9 positive variance to date. Well, then why did we adjust the revenue forecast down by 0.2 million? Well, it appears we probably adjusted it down when we should have adjusted it up slightly because of the motor vehicle registration and fees have been better than we assumed in the revenue forecast. So I just wanted to add that caveat. So it's still a positive situation. It's still the revenue, even though we did a slight adjustment down, it looks like revenue will actually be greater in the highway fund based on what we're seeing through April and May. So, and those funds would, I think that variance that's greater than the revenue forecast would stay in the highway fund and go to DOT capital, is that they have their own mini cascade to use funds that are greater than the revenue variance. So Any pause there?
Any questions on the highway fund? Seeing none.
The last piece here, the average balance in the cash pool for April was slightly below the March, well, slightly below in terms of billions, but 2.6 billion decrease from 2.644 billion. The decrease was largely a result of the continuing decrease in the cash balance from the CRF coronavirus relief funds, money that we had gotten last year. As we spend that money down, we'd had about 274.3 million in March, and we dropped to 240.6 million in April, and that was from the original 1.25 billion. And also a decrease in the general fund balance, which is typical for the months prior to the tax filing deadline. We generally spend down our general fund as we make refunds, etc., and then we build it back up at the after tax filing day as we start getting tax collections. That we weren't negative at all. We just have a slight reduction, and it's still a very positive situation on the cash balance. The average highway fund balance in April was 63.9 million, and it was an increase from March's average of 58 million. So at some point when we start receiving the ARP funds, we'll also start reflecting those in the cash balance. I think we've received the initial amounts of the ARP funds, but they're not reflected in the April cash balance yet, but we may show up at the May cash balance. So we'll track those like we've been tracking the coronavirus relief funds as well. So that is just a real brief summary of the cash balance and the other fiscal components.
Great. Thank you, Mr. Nolan. Are there any questions from council for Mr. Nolan? Seeing none. Next item on the agenda is reports from council committees. This is, I believe, on. Actually, I guess this is a readout, I suppose. Am I right in that?
You are correct.
Personnel committee.
Yes, I believe the president has the report.
Actually, I think I have the report.
Okay.
Right, Mr. President, is that right? Or you have the report too? Okay. President Jackson.
So good. The Personnel Committee met on Thursday, May 6, 2021 to consider the following matters. Request for temporary disability for powers and staff. Committee considered a request by a legislative employee for temporary disability income benefits. The request was consistent with the provisions of temporary disability income benefits under the Legislative Council's personnel policy and guidelines. On the recommendation of the Executive Director, we voted unanimously to approve the request. No Legislative Council action is required. The second thing that we took up was review of Legislative Council's harassment policy and discussion of conduct policy. We reviewed the Legislative Council's harassment policy and discussed possible approaches to the development of a conduct policy. The matter is going to be discussed further at a future meeting. That concludes the Personnel Committee's report.
Are there any questions from council regarding the Personnel Committee report? Seeing none. Next item is under old business. This is item number 1. It's the only item on page 5 of our packet. This is a review of actions that Legislative Council has taken by ballot since April 22nd, 2021. There's no action required, just a matter of reviewing those items. Are there any questions from council regarding the items provided on beginning on page 5 of the packet? Seeing none. Under new business, item number 1, consideration of after deadline bills. This begins on page 6 of the packet, and these do require action, and I believe we will likely have members with us here in the waiting room. Let's see. So I'll take members who are in the waiting room first, and then we'll have to skip around a little bit. Representative Hepler on page 7 of our packet has a joint resolution titled Joint Resolution Urging the Congress of the United States to pass legislation establishing a Veterans Service Organization for Housing. This is LR 2079. Representative Hepler, welcome to Legislative Council. Basically, all we're asking from you is just a brief overview of the joint resolution, and it's a little different with joint resolutions than after deadline bills, because obviously the JR is not something that's going to go through the committee process typically. So you don't necessarily have to make your case for why it's after deadline, but if you could just provide us an overview of the joint resolution.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker, and thanks for considering this. This actually is a joint resolution for what I've learned in the last couple of weeks are things called veteran service organizations, and a lot of them are things like that we've heard of, quite familiar, American Legion, AMVETS, Paralyzed Veterans of America, Wounded Warrior projects, and they all do, if they're congressionally chartered, they are really helpful in getting and accessing veterans services. And it's come to my attention and attention of a constituent of mine that there is no VSO that is specifically aimed at housing. And we're not just talking about, get access to housing, but also financial literacy and helping veterans through that process, which even for projects that seem pretty straightforward can be quite difficult. And so this would help veterans access that. There is not a bill before Congress yet, but it is coming. That's why I didn't include the bill in the resolution. And also I ran it by the Veterans Caucus, and it has their support as well.
Thank you, Representative Hepler. Are there any questions for the joint resolution sponsor? Seeing none, is there a motion? President Jackson.
Yeah, I'll move it.
President Jackson moves it in. Is there a second? Seconded by Senator Daughtry. Any discussion on the motion before us? Seeing none. Ms. Gresser, please call the roll.
Senator Pouliot,
Yes.
Senator Timberlake,
Yes.
Senator Daughtry,
Yes.
Senator Vitelli,
Oops, yes.
Representative Stetkis,
Yes.
Representative Dillingham,
Yes.
Representative Talbot Ross,
Yes.
Representative Dunphy,
Yes.
Mr. President,
Yes.
and Mr. Speaker.
Yes.
Mr. Speaker, the motion carries.
Thank you. Unanimous of everyone here, everyone present. Thank you, Representative Hepler. Thanks for joining us. Let's see. Do I have any? Ms. Gresser, are you seeing anyone else?
I am not seeing anyone in the waiting room. I know that there are a couple of bills on the list by council members who are.
Yeah, I'll start with those, and I'll start with Senator Timberlake, because I think Representative Dillingham might be on the phone.
Okay,
I'll start.
thank you.
An act to benefit Maine employees and employers, LR 2082.
Yes, go ahead. I'm sorry to interrupt you. I
No,
apologize.
you're fine. You're fine. Go ahead. Go ahead.
I'm sorry, Mr. Speaker, Mr. Chair. Yes, this bill is about the employers and employers of the state of Maine with the unemployment issue the way it's at, and employers not being able to hire anybody. This bill that I propose to bring forward is copying a lot of what's happened in 18 other states, and actually there's about 16 other states looking at it. And I think it's important to do right off because it has to do with unemployment benefits. and the discontinuation of the federal unemployment benefits to get employers to help employees out by encouraging people on unemployment to go to work, and if they take jobs to get paid a bonus after they've been there a while to work in the states. I would really like to make this a bipartisan thing that we look at, because I'm looking at employers and employees across the state of Maine that are having to work a whole bunch of extra hours because I don't know what store or business you can drive by that you can't see I'm hiring sign up. And I really, it's not that I want to take benefits away from those that are unemployed, but with this many people out working, I think we have to look at how do we get people back? And I'm hearing up and down the street in my district that we need to do something about it and we need to address it soon. So it's kind of an open jacket. I mean, I've looked at Montana, I've looked at South Carolina, I've looked at Mississippi and Ohio and Utah. They're all doing something. And I think there's something that we as legislators in the state of Maine for our tourism businesses are trying to help. You can't get, just so all of you know, my company has used H-2A workers and J-1 workers over the year off and on when we couldn't get people. But you can't even, these summer tourism businesses rely on I think it's H-3A in the tourism industry, but in J-1 workers, and they can't get any. Even if they've been approved for extras, but because of the COVID situation around the countries, other countries aren't letting them out, or we can't get them in, and there's just so many problems running into it. And, this is just a way that I would like to have us sit around and have a discussion about how we can address this. And, the fact of the matter is, even the president has acknowledged that this $300 extra a week that people are getting is causing a problem for people going back to work. So that's what my bill is about. And I would really look forward to some support with it. Thank you.
Thank you.
Willing to answer any questions.
Thank you, Senator Timberlake. Any questions for Senator Timberlake? Senator Daughtry.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Senator Timberlake, I'm confused. Is your bill a concept draft, or is it to strip the unemployment benefits? I'm just confused.
No.
Okay.
Yes, Senator Daughtry, and it's a great question, because it's basically at this point in time a concept draft, because I'm not stuck on any one idea. I just know that a lot of states have looked at way of removing the $300 and using, with all of the surplus money that a lot of states have had through all the federal money, of using another form of that money to come back in. There's some states that if you take on a new job and you stay there for 6 weeks to 8 weeks, then they send you a stimulus check of $1,200 for those that are taking these jobs and moving on. I just think it's a discussion. It's a discussion that we have to have. And I just think it's important, because I'm hearing from every employer in the state of Maine, basically, that's at least around me, that we need to address this issue somehow. So I'm looking to find the way that between now and the end of the session that we address this, because businesses are trying to hire this summer and they're not finding people. And I know of 3 businesses, as I say, in my own district that are cutting back the hours more and more and more, because employees are working a lot of too much overtime, and they're getting sick of it. And employees are asking me, can you find somebody to help me out? So that's what it's about.
Any additional questions for Senator Timberlake? Seeing none, is there a motion?
Too bad we can't just go right to work session.
On a concept draft?
I move it in.
And with fiscal note. So I support this moving forward. I think one thing that we need to do is look at incentives that can help people. I don't really penalize folks, just like say, hey, your benefits are cut off, good luck. I look at like a carrot approach here, and if we can give folks an incentive for taking a position, maybe that's a good thing to do, So I don't know. What do you guys think?
Mr. Speaker, I move it in.
Representative Dillingham moves it in. Is there a second?
Second that. Steckes.
Seconded by Representative Steckes. Discussion on the motion. The only thing I would say is, in regards to any after deadline bill for the last couple of weeks now, whether they've come over via ballot or mostly they've been coming over by ballot, I've been voting against them, and I will continue to vote against them. I think for the duration of this session, I think the clock has run out on new bills being introduced. Senator Pouliot.
The only thing is that there's definitely new bills that are coming in. Like we just got one assigned to our tax committee today, and this is a crisis issue. And so unless the governor is going to put a bill in, which she can do anytime, I just feel like it's our responsibility as a legislature to try to figure out ways to help employers hire people. You know what I mean? And if we can pay people more money, that's probably a win-win. I don't know that we can afford to do nothing, I could see if this were like some other type of issue, but I don't know, it's a crisis, and I'm sure you're all hearing it from your constituents. We can't be the only ones,
Any further discussion? Representative Talbot Ross.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I really applaud the work that Senator Timberlake did on this, and I agree with Senator Pouliot about the importance of it. My concern is just echoing yours, Mr. Speaker, around the timing. And so I unfortunately will not be supporting it, but I did want to make sure that I expressed my appreciation that the bill came forward and Senator Timberlake's work on it. Thank you.
I have Senator Timberlake and then Representative Steckes.
And I apologize because, Mr. Speaker, I agree with you that if in any other circumstance that I agree with about anything that comes in at this point in time is not time, but I look at this as almost an emergency for the employees and the employers of the people of the state of Maine. And I think we need to sit down as a group, as this group here, and find some bipartisan way to help our businesses and our employees in the state of Maine. So I would hope you'd all reconsider, but I understand and I appreciate your honesty. So I thank you.
Representative Steckes.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. So, yeah, the timeliness of this is certainly not, not what we would like. But again, this is a crisis situation. We've got a tourist season about to start this weekend. Last tourist season was destroyed due to COVID, and a lot of businesses to go with that. Setting this aside and not dealing with this right now could cause massive long-term damage. As people visit our state and our tourist and service-related industries are not going to be able to provide the service that these folks might expect coming to our state, it's very likely they won't return. They'll go somewhere else where they can spend their vacation time, their vacation money on the services that they expect. So, this isn't just some small situation. This is very, very important to our state.
Any further discussion, questions, comments? Seeing none, Ms. Gresser, you mind calling the roll? Thanks.
Senator Pouliot,
Yeah.
Senator Timberlake,
Yes.
Senator Daughtry,
No.
Senator Vitelli,
No.
Representative Steckes,
Yes.
Representative Dillingham,
Yes.
Representative Talbot Ross,
No.
Representative Dunphy,
No.
Mr. President,
No.
Mr. Speaker,
Nope.
Mr. Speaker, 4-6, the motion fails.
I'm gonna skip over because I haven't seen anyone else join who's on this list at this point. So Representative Dillingham, are you able to present LR 2076, an act to establish the body worn camera fund to provide grants to law enforcement for body worn cameras?
Yes, that's mine. I didn't even know it was on there. So this is actually looking to see and create a way to set up a fund to be able to use some of the ARP funds possibly to support our law enforcement folks that either they have body worn cameras and they need to continue to buy any sort of updates for them or repairs for them, or for those law enforcement organizations that don't currently have body cameras and they don't have it in their funds. This would allow them an ability to seek a grant to be able to support that for their officers.
Thank you, Representative Dillingham. Is there a motion on this item? Any kind of motion will do. The options available to us are moving it in or moving it out.
I make a
Would
motion.
move to vote it, move it in.
Representative Stichels moves it in. Is there a second? Seconded by Senator Pouliot. Yep. Any further discussion on this item? Senator Daughtry.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Representative Dillingham, I'm just wondering if there's anything, completely understand the desire and helping everyone out, especially law enforcement trying to get an increase of body cameras, but we passed a bill enabling the structure for the legislature to approve the federal funds already. I'm just wondering if that couldn't be accomplished within that bill that we already put through the process.
I wasn't sure, and that's why I didn't know if we needed a separate vehicle just in case. And this is why I brought it forth. And this was actually after talking to some law enforcement organizations over in my area that, especially the ones that they already have the cameras, but they're old and they need updating, but they don't have that written into for their budgeting. So just trying to make sure that there's something that if we could use some of those funds towards that. So I'll look to Ledge Council if they think that, if this is something that could be done and talked about, and probably see if there's agreement that we could put it into already existing, or if did we need to have like a separate venue just in case.
Senator Daughtry, do you still have a follow-up?
Yes, please. Thank you,
Yeah.
Mr. Speaker. I was just going to say, I do think it can be done under what we have already. And I think you're right. And thanks for bringing this forward because it is an important thing to highlight. So maybe, if it's incumbent on all of us on Ledge Council to just reach out to appropriations or make, that point clear. But I think I'm with the speaker on this, that I think we just are physically out of time to be able to get something like this through and have a quality conversation. And at least with this portion, I think there's a way to handle it with an existing framework. So.
And I'm fine with that. If they'd like to take the motion back and do it ought not to pass, and we can have that discussion with appropriations just to dispense with this, I'm okay with that.
Before I get to you, Representative Talbot Ross, based on that comment, Representative Dillingham, Representative Stichels, and Senator Pouliot, are you interested in withdrawing your motion to move the item in?
So moved.
Okay. So motion withdrawn. Senator Pouliot, are you fine with withdrawing your second?
Yeah.
Yeah. I would seek a motion to move it out.
Mr. Speaker, I move the motion out.
Okay, thank you, Representative Talbot Ross. Is there a second? Seconded by Representative Dunphy. Representative Talbot Ross, did you have a comment?
I just wanted to thank Representative Dillingham for bringing this forward and echo what Senator Daughtry has already offered. I think this is really important, and I support it, and will hopefully work with others to make sure that we address it appropriately. So thank you, Representative Dillingham.
Ms. Gresser, I think we are ready for the roll.
Senator Pouliot,
Yes or no, I can't remember which way I'm supposed to vote.
you're voting yes on it being out.
Right.
Senator Timberlake,
Well, what Matt said, yes.
Senator Daughtry,
Sorry, I feel like I should say what Senator Pouliot said, but yes.
Senator Vitelli,
Yes.
Representative Stetkis.
Representative Sekis, was that a yes?
All right, yes.
Yep.
Representative Dillingham,
Yes.
Representative Talbot Ross,
Yes.
Representative Dunphy,
Yes.
Mr. President,
Yes.
and Mr. Speaker.
Yes.
Mr. Speaker, it's unanimous.
Thank you. Okay, we've still not been joined by any of these other sponsors, but my preference would be to clear the deck regardless of whether or not people are going to be presenting these, because I don't think whether or not we table it, the result will be different at a future Ledge Council meeting, particularly since I think our next Ledge Council meeting is quite a ways away. So Representative Dillingham?
Thank you very much. I was actually going to ask that we leave LR 2046 by Representative Laurel Libby tabled. So I mean, it's on the table, so I'm asking that we just leave it there.
Okay, happy to leave items on tabled. There's two.
Okay, thank you. Thank you.
The first one on that's not been tabled, these new items here, starting with LR 2077. Resolve directing the Department of Health and Human Services to conduct an independent review of the collection and management of personally identifiable information. Sponsors Representative John Connor. I don't think I've seen him join us. And just to be clear, once the first special session of the 130th adjourns, I believe, and Ms. Gresser can correct me if I'm wrong, but any of these after deadline submissions will expire with our adjournment.
Unless something special is done to keep whatever's tabled in the council going. But yes, under normal circumstances, it would not continue.
Okay. Representative Dillingham.
I've reached out to Representative Connor, so if you wouldn't mind moving on to one of the next ones, we could come back if you.
Okay.
Thank you.
That's fine. Next item is LR 2070. Representative Chris Kessler, resolution proposing an amendment to the Constitution of Maine to provide the legislature the power to levy taxes on real and personal property as it deems wise and equitable. I haven't seen him join us either. Is there a motion?
I move it out.
Senator Vitelli moves it out, seconded by Senator Daughtry. Is there any discussion? Seeing no discussion. Ms. Gresser, please call the roll.
Senator
Motion
Pouliot,
motion is to move it out.
Yes.
Senator Timberlake,
Yes.
Senator Daughtry,
Yes. Sorry, my mute button wasn't working.
Senator Vitelli,
Yes.
Representative Stetkis,
Yes.
Representative Dillingham,
Yes.
Representative Talbot Ross,
Yes.
Representative Dunphy,
Yes.
Mr. President,
Yes.
and Mr. Speaker.
Yes.
Mr. Speaker, it's unanimous.
Motion prevails. Next item is LR 2073, an act to clarify Maine's credit for taxes paid to other states. Senator Mark Lawrence. He's not here either. And I would seek a motion. President Jackson.
Move it out.
President Jackson moves it out, seconded by Representative Talbot Ross. Any discussion? Seeing none, Ms. Gresser, please call the roll. The motion is to move it out.
Senator Pouliot,
Yes.
Senator Timberlake,
Yes.
Senator Daughtry,
Yes.
Senator Vitelli,
Yes.
Representative Stefkis,
Yes.
Representative Dillingham,
Yes.
Representative Talbot Ross,
Yes.
Representative Dunphy,
Yes.
Mr. President,
Yes.
and Mr. Speaker.
Yes.
Mr. Speaker, the motion prevails.
Thank you. Next item is LR 2080, an act to temporarily exempt catalytic converters from the annual motor vehicle inspection requirement. Senator Trace Stewart. Senator President Jackson.
Move it out.
President Jackson moves it out. Is there a second? Second by Representative Dunphy. Any discussion on this item? Seeing none. Ms. Gresser, please call the roll. That motion is to move it out.
Senator Pouliot,
No.
Senator Timberlake,
Yes.
Senator Daughtry,
Yes.
Senator Vitelli,
Yes.
Representative Stefkis,
Yes.
Representative Dillingham,
Yes.
Representative Talbot Ross,
Yes.
Representative Dunphy,
Yes.
Mr. President,
Yes.
Mr. Speaker.
Yes.
Mr. Speaker, the vote is 9 in favor, 1 opposed. The motion prevails.
Thank you. I think that concludes all the new items. We're leaving the items on the table. Representative Dillingham.
If you'd like to go back to LR 2077 by Representative John Connor, I will move it out.
Okay. Motion to move LR 2077 out. Is there a second? Seconded by Senator Daughtry. Any further discussion on this item? Seeing none. Ms. Gresser, please call the roll.
Senator Pouliot,
Yes.
Senator Timberlake,
Yes.
Senator Daughtry,
Yes.
Senator Vitelli,
Yes.
Representative Stefkis,
Yes.
Representative Dillingham,
Yes.
Representative Talbot Ross,
Yes.
Representative Dunphy,
Yes.
Mr. President,
Yes.
and Mr. Speaker.
Yes.
Mr. Speaker, it's unanimous.
Thank you. That concludes new business item number 1. New business item number 2, request to authorize study and remove from study table the Maine Bicentennial Commission. This requires decision, and this request was made by President Jackson. I think this was briefly described at the end of last week's meeting, but President Jackson, do you want to just provide an overview of this once more?
Sure. I was contacted last Thursday by Senator Diamond saying that the previous bicentennial commission had expired and that they couldn't authorize a number of things because this study commission is not allowed to operate. So, so they continue with, or we started back on the work that they did previous to this. I was hoping that the council would allow study to come off and get it back up and going.
I would suspect, President Jackson, was that a formal motion?
Yeah, I don't know, Mr. Treasurer, am I moving it off the table or what's the appropriate motion?
Your motion is to authorize the study and remove it from the table.
My motion would be to remove it, authorize the study and remove it from the table.
Great. Is there a second? Seconded by Senator Daughtry. Any discussion on this item? Seeing none, Ms. Gresser, please call the roll.
Senator Pouliot,
No.
Senator Timberlake,
Yes.
Senator Daughtry,
Yes.
Senator Vitelli,
Yes.
Representative Stetkes,
No.
Representative Dillingham,
Yes.
Representative Talbot Ross,
Yes.
Representative Dunphy,
Yes.
Mr. President,
Yes.
and Mr. Speaker.
Yes.
Mr. Speaker, 8 voting in the affirmative, 2 in the negative, the motion carries.
Great, thank you. That concludes new business and the last item on our agenda, announcements and remarks. Senator Timberlake.
Yes, Mr. Speaker, Mr. Chair, or whatever name I'm supposed to call you to be correct here, to be proper in today's. I just want to bring up some remarks about our vote last Thursday and make a couple comments on the policy. And last Thursday, I'd made a comment that, and a couple of people had corrected me and said I was wrong on a couple things, and I just want to put it on a formal record that I wasn't wrong, that I was right. I was wrong on one thing, but that I had said that the federal government was open and for business, and the House and the Senate were. I don't think I ever said the House was, but I did say the Senate. And when going back and do further research, the Capitol building, you do not have to wear masks, and the Senate, you do not have to wear masks. And the other thing that was brought to my attention, and I was corrected on, was that the administration had said that we had reached the 70% mark. Well, on Tuesday, the 25th, 2021 at 5:02 p.m., the governor put out another press release that says, Governor Mills announces another vaccination milestone that 70% of Maine's people 12 and over have received their first shot of COVID-19, surpassing President Biden's goal and meeting the 70% that we needed to be. I don't like to call it herd immunity. I like to call it community immunity to move forward. And I thought I was right, and I was, and I would just like to keep that. And with that, I would like us to reconsider the vote that we took last week with the new information that we've now received that says that we have reached that 70% goal. And I would like to make a motion that with the new information that we've all received, that we can, with the 70 percentile being reached, that we can move forward with mask removal in the State House, and it may help us all in the end and stop this conflict that's going back and forth among members and creating hard feelings in the public. And I think it's the right thing to do. It's the science that's out there. It's based on science. And I just ask that we go forward. So I would make a motion that we reconsider and go. I guess the motion would be, I make a motion to lift the mask requirement policy in the state capitol.
And Senator Timberlake, I would call that motion out of order. First and foremost, if it's a reconsideration of last week's agenda item, I believe you did not vote on the prevailing side, and there is not an item on the agenda related to this. So I would call the motion out of order, but I'm happy to entertain further discussion on this matter. It seems like Senator Pouliot has additional words to weigh in. Senator Timberlake.
I'd just like to continue on my discussion with you for just 1 minute, and I respect that, Mr. Speaker. But I wasn't doing a reconsideration because I changed it because I know I didn't vote at all, actually, because my uncle had died and I had to take my mother to a funeral and I had to leave before you got to that. So I don't know if that changes it. But with that being said, I was making it as a motion now. And you know, the other thing I'd like to bring to point, when I told you last week that I was leaving, and nobody told me that I wouldn't be allowed to vote. And when I called Miss Dresser up to say that I wanted to record my vote, she informed me that I was no longer allowed to vote on that, which, you know, I thought someone would have told me when I'd made this suggestion. That's okay. I can live with that. You know, we can move on in life. But that did surprise me. But I think it's something that with new information that we'd ought to consider. Thank you.
Senator Pouliot.
Well, I put my hand down. I'm all set for
Okay.
now.
Any further announcements? Seeing none, is there a motion? Representative Dillingham.
So the motion is still out of order, so you're looking for different comments then?
Yeah.
Okay,
The motion is
so,
out.
thank you. This is actually also about the mask, and to you, Mr. Speaker, aware that members of my caucus entered the building without wearing a mask and cited that they were following the CDC guideline, and under your jurisdiction and with the ability that you do have, you did remove them from committee. And within our policy under number 5, it talks about protective face coverings, and it references, for the purpose of this section, protective face covering means a face covering that complies with guidelines or recommendations from COVID-19 source control issued by the Maine Centers for Disease Control and Prevention. So the current guidance out there is that folks do not have to wear a mask, and the US CDC does cite that if they are fully vaccinated, they do not have to wear a mask. So I'm asking that you reconsider your actions where you remove my members from their committees, citing that we haven't been very clear in our policy as far as changing the language to say that even though the CDC is recommending, their recommendation is not to have the face covering, that we didn't take that part out where we reference back to it or make it very clear that we're talking about the type of covering. So I'd ask that you take that into consideration and think about reconsidering the removal of my members from their committee assignments.
Representative Stackis.
Here we go. I found it. I was hoping that we could receive some sort of answer on Representative Dillingham's question.
Was there a question?
Would you, we would like to hear some reconsideration on your decision of removing close to 50,000 Mainers' voices from their government by eliminating the committee assignments of those members.
Those members will not be reassigned to their committees unless they decide to comply with what Legislative Council adopted last week, a policy that was unchanged in regards to face coverings. The face covering requirement has been in place in this building for well over a year now. We did not change that policy at all last week. And those members decided to come into this building on Monday, first by having a cameraman come before them so that they could record what was ultimately a political stunt. And I'm not going to reinstate them to their committees until they prove to all of us, not just me, but to the members of the legislature and to all of the people who expect us to follow the rules and procedures and decorum of this building and this body, and until they prove that they're going to follow the Legislative Council policy regarding face coverings, I will not be reinstating them.
Thank you
So
for your
we've got 10 legislative session days left. 10, June 16th, the last day we have scheduled, and my hope is that we can get through those days with everyone following the rules that we adopted. Now, you might not like the rules, but there are plenty of rules we don't like, but we follow.
Thank you for your answer. May I proceed with
Yes.
my own remarks?
Yes.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. You know, this has been, I mean, it's been a tough year. It's been an especially tough week. But the arbitrary mask mandate that you have imposed is becoming more and more dangerous as time continues. The citizens of Maine need to trust the decisions made by the people that they elect. This rule contradicts the federal and state CDC guidelines, as well as the Mills administration, as they've eliminated the mandates that would be applicable to the legislature. As much as we all would hope that there wouldn't be another emergency, there will be. And in the future, the public will need to believe and have faith that what is to be asked of them is based on science, data, and the facts, not on politics. Mr. Speaker, I would hope you would reconsider your mandate and side with the science and the experts and drop this unnecessary mandate.
Senator Pouliot.
Thanks. So since no one's going to change their mind here, can you help me, Mr. Speaker, understand what penalties will be in place for the other members who don't wear their masks next week? Because I don't think it's actually, I know for a fact, it's not going to be just the group of 7 that came on Monday. So I'm just wondering if are members going to be prohibited from being able to vote in the chambers? And I guess this is a question for President Jackson as well as yourself. And I'm not trying to be like combative or difficult or anything at all. I'm just literally wanting to know, what to explain to the members who have said that they're not going to wear masks. We clearly understand that probably those who choose to do that, which will be stripped of their committee assignments. So we understand that. Just wondering what other penalties should be expected moving forward.
So, well, Senator Pouliot, I mean, let me just be really clear. Like, this is not what I got elected to serve my community to do, or in the capacity of speaker. I do not find this to be at all a fun position to be in. But the reality is, I'm not just the presiding officer of 151 members in the House chamber. And those of us on Ledge Council, we're not just Senator Pouliot or Senator Timberlake or Representative Dillingham or Representative Dunphy or Representative Talbot Ross or President Jackson or Senator Vitelli or Senator Daughtry. We oversee the entire function of this legislative body, this state house, and therefore all the offices, the people who work in these buildings, in this building and in these offices. And so when I think about the decisions that we're making, it's not just as a matter of politics. It's not a matter of how do we operate the individual chambers. It's how do I make sure that all the folks that have to come to this building every day to do their jobs feel like we have struck the right balance in ensuring that they are safe and that their families are safe. What I heard from members of staff several weeks ago when we were discussing the possibility of coming into this building before there was changes from the executive regarding the mandates on social distancing and wearing a face covering, was that they were concerned about children at home who are still under the age of 12 who could not get vaccinated. They were concerned about members of their family who are immunocompromised. They were concerned about our own members, some of which have health conditions right now, including cancer, that they would be in a building of hundreds of people and having to be in a tough spot where they're choosing to come to do their job as an elected official or put their health at risk. And so when we made the decision last week to maintain the face covering aspect of what we've all done over the last year to try to combat this pandemic and this virus, that was a small piece towards ensuring the safety of those of us who come to this building and the employees who come here as well, while we made many, many changes that dissolved things that were in place in response to the pandemic. And like employers across the state, we are an employer as well, and we have to make decisions that are in the best interest of all of the folks that have to work here. That's our job. It's not just about me, Representative Fecteau, or anyone else. I can't just make decisions that are in the best interest of me. We, especially as Ledge Council, we have a greater responsibility than just our own interest of our caucus or the own interest of our district. We have a greater responsibility. And so that's why this policy, I think, is important. It's for the safety of everyone here. And so in response to your question about what will happen if folks continue to come into the building without face coverings, I would ask those members to review the rules of the legislature. And I think they will quickly begin to make their own list about what is in the purview of the presiding officers in terms of providing consequence for not following our rules. They can quickly quickly learn what the possibilities are. And I'll assess those possibilities and those consequences as those things happen. But it is my sincere hope that with 10 legislative days left, that we can get this work done. That we can do so without the fanfare. President Jackson.
Yeah, thank you, Speaker Fecteau. I think you did an excellent job of just laying it out for people much better than I will, so I'm not going to expand on that a lot. I appreciate your stand. I think you obviously did something that was really tough, but needed, and I support it 100%. But what the speaker did was obviously a House matter, and the Senate will have obviously our own issues dealt with any senator, any one of our members. More than happy to talk to Senator Timberlake and Senator Pouliot about anything that may happen when we start up on June 2nd for our session here in chamber. But I can assure you that there will be repercussions, just like what happened in the House. And I would rather that didn't happen, but you know, we have a policy as legislative council. Some of you don't like it. I get it. I understand it. Personally, I don't like it either, but I'm going to stay with the policy because I think that's the best chance to make sure that everyone in here is as safe as possible, including, as Speaker Fecteau said, people that are leaving here and going back to their families. Honestly, at this point, I really don't know why we're talking about it, because each chamber, at least in this setting, whatever Speaker Fecteau chooses to do for House members is obviously his choice. The same goes to me. It's not a legislative council member issue. It's a chamber issue. So, ours, for like I said, Senator Timberlake, Senator Pouliot, more than happy to have a discussion about it, about our members. So with that, I'll let it go with that. Soon I'll be looking to adjourn here to get other things I need to do today.
Senator Timberlake.
That's the first time I forgot today. I thank you, Mr. President, and you and I'll be communicating, because I need to follow up with what Senator Pouliot asked, you know, because I think what happened the other day is kind of, you know, part of it bothers me. I think the part, it's not so much the being removed from the committee. I understand that the speaker had a job to do, and that's what he thought was the best interest. He and I might not agree. There might have been a warning given and said, if you do this, this is what's going to happen. I think that's what we're looking to find. I thought that one of the mistakes that were made to be worked out later in life is that Republicans should have been reappointed to the committee. By putting Democrats on, it looks very partisan in my world, and I think it's portrayed out in the public as somewhat partisan. But that's a decision that the speaker has to live with, and not and not me. So, Mr. President, I will be asking you because I need to inform my caucus and members. They feel they have causes and concerns about what's happening. You know, businesses that were going to, when they first opened, said they wasn't going to make masks. They were going to make their businesses mask mandatory. I haven't found any, at least around my district. The Hannafords have all made them provisional that if you're vaccinated, you can come in the building. And, you know, so I think that it was unfortunate what happened. But I think that all in all the way around, it could have been handled better by all sides, all places. But I am concerned because of the way it was handled, of what plays out later in the week. And I, like you, Mr. Speaker, want to see the next 10 days go away. I've got farming to do. I've got things in my life to move forward with. And I'm very, very concerned of the atmosphere that we're portraying. And one of the reasons we're portraying this atmosphere is just what we're doing today, is being here on this Zoom meeting. We're not meeting in person. We're not looking each other in the eye. We're 75 miles away from each other, hiding behind our cameras and our keyboards. And not a one of you that I'm accusing of doing that, but it's what it's portrayed out to. There's something about when you're looking somebody in the eye up close that people treat people better. And I wished it wasn't true, but it is true. And every single one of us here know that's true. I look forward to getting this session over, but it's a discussion that, as painful as it is, Mr. Speaker, we have to have, because caucus members are going to push this. And I think it's only fair that they understand whether they're going to go to censure, whether they're going to go to be ousted, what it is, and whether, if they go to censure, whether they're going to be allowed to vote, not allowed to vote, what's going to happen here. I think it's important to understand it. And I don't mean to put you or the president on the spot, but it's a question asked by the world out here right now. And it's not easy. I really, truly understand the complication of your job. And you say it's not a job you took. Well, when you become Speaker of the House of Representatives for the state of Maine, it is part of that job. And the president becomes president, it is part of it. When I become leader of my caucus, I have to say things and take votes that I might not normally take, because I represent my caucus and I represent the people that we're asked to do when we do this job. And I understand that being on Ledge Council requires some of that responsibility. And I take my votes, and when I lose, I accept the loss. And I've accepted the loss, but I like to bring forth the points that were made, like when Senator Daugherty and Senator Vertelli challenged some of the remarks I made. That's why I bring them forward. And I just want that known out there. And that's why I asked that, because almost you'll find there's an awful lot of members watching this meeting today. So I thank you, and I understand the hard job you got. I really, truly do. And I appreciate the conversation that all of us sitting on this committee here are allowed to have with each other and reach out to each other. And thank you again.
Thank you, Senator Timberlake. And I just couple of things to add before I call on the next member. What I meant, I understand the responsibility that I sought when seeking the position of Speaker. What I didn't ask for, and when I am not, just to put in perspective, I think members might think that this is like a game, or that I'm having fun. I'm not having fun taking phone calls from people who are screaming and upset, who are veiled threats and so forth. That's not fun. Like that's not why I ran to be in this position. I certainly wouldn't make a decision to invite all those comments and phone calls and emails and so forth that I've been getting over the last 4 days. It's not fun at all. And I look to work with all of you. This is not what I signed up for. And so making a decision in order to invite that stuff, that's not something I would seek out or do on purpose. And so that was the point I was trying to make. And secondly, I hope next week when all members are back in this building for the first time for the 130th legislature, I hope what you just said, Senator Timberlake, proves to be right. That being in this building, looking people in the eye, seeing the dozens and dozens of employees who are in this building who are not who aren't members of any partisan staff, that maybe it will put things in perspective to members about the greatness of this building and the duty of being a lawmaker in this state. I heard several times over the last several months about how being in this building, the grandeur of this building, the ornateness of this building would change the way we interact with one another. Well, I hope it proves true next week. I really do. And I hope that a mask doesn't get in the way of the work we have to do to complete the 130th legislature. That is my hope. That is my hope. Representative Dillingham.
Thank you. First, I know Senate President Jackson, I apologize that this is really, kind of a House issue, but I think this is an appropriate forum to have the discussion. So I think we all have things that we want to get on to doing today. First, I just want to clarify what I had asked before. I was pointing out what I feel is a technical drafting issue in our policy, that with that still being in place, I'm again asked the speaker to take some time to look through that and see if he will reconsider. To my point of what I asked last week, and I asked the question, if members showed up to session and not wearing masks, would there then be a vote to expel the members from the chamber, which takes 2/3 of our body to do so? After that, the speaker and I did have further conversations about what possibly was going to happen and may happen. And I think that serving in the legislature is something that is so different from any other job or position or organization that we have, that unless you have worked or served in the legislature, it's very hard to understand and wrap your mind around the way that we operate. I don't want anyone to mistake that I am not aware of the power that lies with the Speaker and the Senate President, or with the Legislative Council, and that we have the ability to set and make our own rules and regulations. And this policy was something that we hotly debated, but it was a vote of 6-2. And I understand our rules and regulations and our references that we make to Masons. And I will wholeheartedly debate any of those policies that I don't agree with, and do the best I can to reflect the position of my caucus. But one thing that I do not condone and will never condone is when there is disagreement about the debate, that we then move to very intimidating personal attacks and language for any of our members. I don't support it. I don't condone it. I don't support trying to get the public to make threatening statements because there's individuals that have a differing viewpoint on policy. And I've been on the receiving end of that. So I'm sorry, Mr. Speaker, that if you have now been on the receiving end of that, that's nothing I condone. I still disagree with you on the mask policy. I believe that we should be following the governor's executive orders and the CDC guidance. I understand your position. I disagree, but I don't condone anybody contacting you in a threatening manner. So I just wanted to make that very clear. You and I have had discussions. You did call me to notify me of what your decision was going to be, and I know that decision is completely within your purview. Again, that is the power of speaker, and you need to use the resources that you have to try to follow the guidelines that you believe are laid out there, even if there's disagreement about them. So I don't want anyone to think that, the speaker did not notify me. He did, and my chief of staff did reach out to notify members. And we have had discussions as far as Senator Timberlake's question about what's next, what could be next. You and I had that discussion today. I am aware of what could be next, and that is something that I will be sharing with my caucus tomorrow morning. So I hope that I wanted to make it clear that there has been communication from the speaker to myself as the leader for the House Republicans. Thank you for the time. I'm sorry, Senator Jackson, for prolonging this for you.
Thank you, Representative Dillingham. Senator Pouliot and then Senator Vitelli.
Okay, so just so that I'm clear, there is no penalties being articulated, but the penalties could be something out of a plethora of options that folks could read about in a document somewhere.
Correct. At least for I'm speaking for the House side. There are numerous House rules that would allow for various decisions to be made. And, again, I think the point I would hammer home is I really hope that this is not where we're headed. But we're not, at least for the House side, I'm just saying we'll not have a House that's not in order. The House will be in order, and we'll find a way to make sure that that's the case. That's the bottom line for me. Senator Vitelli.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I just very briefly would want to echo much of what you've said, which is that we have a lot of work to do ahead of us in a very short time frame. And there's the opportunity for us to come back together, to look each other eye to eye, as Senator Timberlake says, and I'm really looking forward to that. I'm looking forward to getting our work done. And I would just point out that there is no penalty for wearing a mask. And so if that's what it takes for us to get our work done, I think that should be the focus of our conversation. And I'm really hopeful, I share your hope, Mr. Speaker, that when we do come back together here next week, we will work together as a body in getting the work done that's before us, but also doing it in a manner that protects all of us and all of the people that work in this incredible building, which I happen to be in at the moment. So looking forward to having you all back here with me next week. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Representative Steffes.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker, and hopefully the last comment from me today, hopefully. Unfortunately, I'm going to have to take issue with your questioning of the motives of my caucus. Describing the defense of the civil liberties and their rights to speak for their constituents is nowhere near the idea of fanfare. These members take this very serious, as do the rest of us, and I would hope you would do the same.
Thank you, Representative Steffes. Any further announcements and remarks? Seeing none, I'd seek a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Moved by President Jackson, seconded by Representative Dillingham. Is there any further? Well, there's no discussion on adjournment, I don't think so. All those in favor, just raise your hand. Unanimous. Thanks.